Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for another Sparkle and Shine interview series interview. Today, I have the lovely and wonderful, beautiful Amelia Roberts of Solutions by Amelia, where she is a visibility coach for professionals with incredible expertise looking to leverage their knowledge and skills to a wider audience. And I've invited Amelia here on the show because she is determined to help industry experts truly expand their visibility. And this month of October, we'll be talking about sharing, reorienting, resting, gearing up, or preparing, which is something that as a visibility expert coach, Amelia absolutely wonderfully does. And so I'm really excited to get hopped in here. And just as a reminder, for those who may be confused or forgot where you are, I am Kendall of New York and Content Creation Services, where I work with business owners to repurpose their existing original content to maximize their time, energy, and knowledge. So Amelia, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. And
Thank you for
let's
having
get
me.
chatting.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. All right, so Amelia, I gave the audience a quick rundown of who you are and what you do, but you, of course, as the expert of what you do, I would love for you to tell everybody just real briefly, real quickly, who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Yeah. Like many people, I felt like an under-recognized professional on my job for a long time. I felt like my voice wasn't heard, like I was invisible. And then I saw a post on social media that got all of this attention. And this person was like on all of these, all of these platforms, and all they did literally was show their tail, like online. And I was like, how is it that people get all of this recognition for not so great things, but here these are people with great ideas, not being heard and stuff. And so I started collaborating with people who were of my, like mine, doing similar things online. And those online connections became offline visibility opportunities that look like speaking in Las Vegas to a room full of health IT marketers, to getting booked on podcasts, to doing a live in a group of a few hundred people. And one thing led to another, and then other professionals started to say, hey, I want to get booked on more podcasts. I want to start to get visible and get booked on, conferences in my industry. And so I started helping create visibility plans for others as well.
Awesome. Now, I want to make sure that the audience fully understands when we say the word professional, right? Lots of people get lots of different ideas, and that's totally fine and perfectly cool because lots of people in lots of areas and industries can be professionals. But I know that you have at least a one or two, like you have a specific sort of type of professional that you often end up helping in big ways, not barring other professionals that you help, but there are specific types of individuals. So let's talk about who those kind of people are and why it is they struggle.
Wow. That's a good question. So I'm noticing like a key theme that of my clients are fellow introverts. We thrive and get our energy from being by ourselves, but at the same time, we do have ideas that we want to see the light of day. We feel as though our ideas need to be seen. At the same time, we're not necessarily the first ones to put ourselves out there. So I think that's why a lot of them have found it beneficial to hire somebody to do that, to make the introductions, to tell them, what's out there for them, one, and two, just book their calendar with people who like to speak to them about what it is that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's really interesting because as a fellow introvert myself, actually I could go on a tangent about that, but as a fellow introvert myself, I know that one of my biggest struggles in business is the balance of being seen, not being seen, being heard, like wanting to be heard, but not wanting to really speak up and talk.
Yeah.
And I know, like personally, I know that often people can be confused by this, or at least not so much in the online space. But when I was a working professional out in like a business, that people were often confused because they were like, "Oh, but you're so loud," and like, da, 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 da. Yeah, that doesn't mean I want to be talking.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
want, like, I
Yes.
don't really want to talk. I just
Mm-hmm.
recognize that I have to talk.
Yeah.
And so I do. And so I'm sure that because you work with a lot of introverts, how is it that you kind of help them to learn that balance and to harvest their ability to be an introvert with great ideas and come up with great ideas with the idea that like the world is extroverted?
So I don't suggest that introverts change. I mean, if you gain your energy, so one, my definition of being an introvert is I gain energy from being by myself. Yes, I'm out there. Yes, I'm, on podcasts and I have, 10, I talk to lots of people in the day, but that also means that I have to block lots of time for silence and alone time. So if I'm speaking at a conference, yeah, that also means the next day I probably can't do any work. So I'm not suggesting that my clients change in any way. I just really actually encourage them to honor their introvertness and take a path of marketing that's actually more introvert friendly. I feel as though having having like a one-on-one conversation with someone like you via a podcast interview, and it's a conversation that two people are having, I feel like that can be more emotionally doable than telling my client, you need to live your life on Snapchat in order to get customers.
Yeah.
You need to do Instagram lives 3 times a way to get customers.
Mhm.
I'm also open for people to put themselves out there in a way that's comfortable and in a way that they'll actually do
Mhm.
on a regular basis. I found that it's more likely for my customers to sit and have a conversation with someone than it is for them to go live 3 times a day on Facebook.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, totally. In fact, I recently had a conversation with my business coach strategist, and she and I was saying like, listen, I can't keep it together and do this show up on my personal page a lot. Like I just can't. Um and she wasn't criticizing me, it was a suggestion. It was something that I was
Mhm.
willing to try. But at the end of the day, I was just like, no, like I just need to still just continue just to hang out like
Mhm.
low. I just
Yeah.
need to go like hang out and kind of low. And she was like, that's totally perfectly fine. Like you have to do what
Mhm.
works for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. Um, and when we are professionals in whatever industry it is that we're in, um, we have a reason that we want to share our ideas and our
Mhm.
messages with people. And I know that you say something like obscurity is a disease. So
Yes,
talk
that's
to
a
us a little
quote.
bit about that.
So that's a quote. Coach Eve, actually, Coach Eve, business to books or something like that. But Coach Eve used that. I was interviewing her, and she was like, "Obscurity is a disease," and I have always known that entrepreneurship is a form of healing. It's like with entrepreneurship, I get to make another human whole. I get to put another human in a better place or have them better well off than where I found them by use of my services. And I've, sort of wondered, what disease am I healing with what I'm doing. And when she said obscure, it is a disease. I have never found anything good that comes from being invisible. Whether you're, if you're having like a poor health outcome, or if you're in a hospital and you feel like you're not being seen and heard and no one's paying attention to you, that's never good.
Mhm,
If you're in business, if you feel as though you're not being seen and heard, and no one's paying attention to you, that's just never good.
mhm.
Yeah, so I definitely believe obscurity is a disease.
Yeah, and I'm just going to bring this in because for those, some of those who are listening and watching from like my audience, you've heard me share many times. I have a background in social work, and
Oh yeah.
for what I did in social work, part of what like there are other systems and like agencies and organizations and stuff to make sure that everybody in a family system, whatever that system looks like, has the ability to be seen and heard in the larger like court system and things like that. And obviously part of what I did was to also try to make sure that people's voices were heard,
Mhm.
with the balance of other things. But it's so important, and it is that entrepreneurship. Now we're going to dig into this because I think this is really interesting, the way you said it, how entrepreneurship is like a form of self-healing. Being seen and heard is all about healing. When I am struggling, this is my personal stuff, right? When I'm struggling with something, well, I don't care if it's like I'm just having like bad time management time or something, right? Like I'm just not whatever, or I'm physically or, emotionally drained or exhausted. I absolutely have to talk. Like I learned this many years ago, and I have to talk. I have to talk and to myself, mentally, self-talk, but I also have to journal, which is a form of talking, and I have to talk to at least one other person. Usually, thankfully, it gets to be my husband. I mean, I'm not sure if he's happy about that, but uh, but I have to talk because I don't get through whatever it is I'm struggling with. Even if it's a temporary thing, if I don't get to talk and share.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about that, and let's tie that into this idea that entrepreneurship is a form of self-healing and self-discovery.
Yeah. So it's so funny. We both, I think, share a similar background. You have a background in social work. I have a background in nursing, right? So, so I've heard it multiple times in different places that, again, entrepreneurship is a form of healing, period. With entrepreneurship, your goal is to bring someone else from a better state of being, to make them whole and complete. And you cannot do that unless you yourself are, I don't want to say whole or complete, but you have to be really further along in doing that, or else, when it comes to, charging for your services or for what you do, you'll feel like you're charging for a unfinished project. And that will show up in your sales conversations. That will show up in your pricing. You'll discount your rates because you feel as though if you feel as though you're a messed up project and you're not worth much. If you feel as though you're a messed up project and you're not worth much, you probably will hesitate with charging premium prices, just because your ability to receive that payment or that acknowledgement for your value is not aligned. So, so there's definitely self-work that's involved with the entrepreneurship journey if you want to be successful. There's definitely a lot of self-work involved with that. So, it's just, I've noticed that with myself too. I haven't always been able to ask for $1,000 and receive it the same day. I think my first pricing point, I don't even want to say what my first pricing point was, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It was reflective of the mindset that I had at the time and what I was able to receive. So yeah, it was not great.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I definitely have learned that, heal thyself, right? So I definitely had to go through, self-work, and to be able to get to the point where I felt like my value deserved to be recognized. One, that it deserved to be recognized, and two, deserved to be recognized at a certain level. That didn't just happen overnight.
No, it's not. It's not an overnight thing. And because and it's interesting because you highlight the fact, of course I knew, but you highlighted the fact that you do have a background in nursing, and in many ways, my background and your background are very similar, and they themselves, those two professions or those two types of professions, right? You don't have to be social work or nursing. I mean, it could be a doctor or something, or therapist or whatever. But those two types of fields, if you would, or industries are all about healing others, which requires a little bit of self-care work, at least in my experience. It requires quite a bit of self-care stuff.
But they don't tell you that in school, right?
They don't let you know. Or it's sort of like a, it's sort of glossed over, like, oh, just make sure there's terms for it is a better way. Like there's, like in therapy and social work, there's like terms like transference and things like that. And they'll tell you all about that, but they don't tell you like what your part in that could look like.
That's so true.
Because of whatever like might be going on inside, or old beliefs, or how you were raised, or whatever. And so I think it's funny because those of us who have those types of backgrounds, who then move into entrepreneurship, or within those backgrounds begin to get even more visible within that industry, that we still have more self-work to do. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm done with this self-work stuff. Can we just be done? Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Why can I not be healed? Why am I not fixed yet?
It's always going to be,
Except the reality is,
it's going to be ongoing. No, it's ongoing. Yeah, it's it's a beautiful thing. I mean, it can be. I mean, what they say, the first thing is to acknowledge that, you need to improve.
Mhm.
And then, once you acknowledge that, I mean, we're always going to be continuing to strive. I feel as though how we were designed. Because, there's a certain mark that we all want to reach. Fortunately, it's a good place for most of us. We want to get to a better state of being. We're designed to want to aspire to do great things. And our life should be spent in a journey to continue to improve so that, we can also improve other people, because we only can improve other people to the point where we are, right?
Mhm.
We only can bring them up to our level. I mean, yes, I guess maybe push them up beyond. But in any case, I feel as though, I mean, entrepreneurship is just the best way of healing oneself. It's the best way of healing other people. It's just a beautiful, I feel as though it's a beautiful arrangement that I feel really is what we were all meant to do to help support our needs. Definitely we need people to work for other people. We need, employees and social workers and nurses and doctors. We definitely need them. But I feel like, just containing your talents to a role inside of an institution, to what an institution can pay you and what an institution allows you to do to help other people. I think just containing all your talents inside, I don't think that's right. Yeah,
No,
I definitely don't think that's right at all. But
no,
yeah.
no, it's not. And like we could go down a whole rabbit hole about how that how
Yeah.
that works and how that affects people and things and society at large. But we're not
You're
going to do
not.
that.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah,
No,
we can
seriously.
we
Yeah.
can save that conversation for another time. Seriously, because that is a doozy.
Hmm.
But I want to talk about how when you're helping people to leverage their knowledge and skills, their ideas, as you like to say, um, in whatever it is that they do, in the online world, in the offline world, in the blend of the worlds, I want to talk about how you help people to prepare to become visible. We talked about how these are journeys and things like that, but people often have to prepare and or just completely change the way they think about visibility. So, and I know you mentioned introverts. So, I mean, you don't have to split it into those people or that, people with
Yeah.
those types of personalities,
Hmm.
because I think even extroverts sometimes still have to prepare to
Yes.
be really visible
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
may need to change their thinking about what visibility is and how to be visible. So, let's talk about that just a little bit.
So yeah, there's like a few layers of that. So I just did a challenge for people who know that they have a message and they want to get it out there to more people. And I say it like that because there are groups of people who don't know that they have an impactful message. I feel as though we all have an impactful message within us. But this challenge was for people who already know that they have a message to get out there. They already have a business. They already are taking customers and clients. They just want to have more customers and clients, or they want more of the right ones. So
Mhm.
for those people, I did a challenge where preparation looked like them thinking about their ideal partners, using the Chet Holmes Dream 100 method. It's a method that Russell Brunson talks about. I don't know if anyone's heard of the book How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. They talk about that method as well, but Chet Holmes of the Ultimate Sales Machine talks about, you don't need 1,000 people, but it's just one yes from an Oprah of your field can do amazing things.
Mm.
Or just
Mhm.
one yes from a Tony Robbins of your field, say yes, I want to collaborate with you and here, come onto my stage and whatnot. So the visibility, so preparing to get more visible looks like, thinking about your ideal prospective clients and prospective collaborators, your category kings, people who already have a platform in your industry and who have a stage where you could speak on, whether that stage is a local conference or a local association or virtual summit or their Facebook group or their Facebook page or their podcast or all of the above, having a list of these people. And that takes some preparation. I don't say make a list of 100 of these people, but make a list of 20, and then think about what value you can give them. Think about value. So that involves preparation.
Mhm.
Um, Value that can range the gamut. On the small scale, it can look like a thank you, hitting reply to their email and saying, thank you so much for the valuable information. I really appreciate your emails. I always open them up, hit reply. And by just doing that, I've been able to get a reply from Seth Godin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And others who are well known in their field, just by hitting reply and giving them a compliment. So
Mm-hmm.
getting visible on like a Seth Godin's radar, I could probably have developed that into something if I wanted to, but this is about my clients, not myself.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, thinking about what you can give them a value, it could look like a graphic. If you're a graphic designer and you notice that, one of the people you like to collaborate with could use some support in that way, just go ahead into Canva and make a quick little graphic with their logo, find their hex codes using any number of tools and make a little it's like, hey, I don't know if you can. So any case, think about what you can do of value to them, and then put on your calendar when you're going to do your outreach to them. When you're going to do your outreach, what you're going to give of value, and how you can serve their community.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a podcast guest or be with them on a conference, do a little bit of research and find out what their audience needs are, and say, hey, you know what, after you've been engaging with them, of course, hey, you know what, I noticed that a lot of people in your audience struggle with blah blah blah. I feel as though this topic is something that could help them. Would you be open to having a conversation about serving your own audience?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Do that times 10 or 20,
Mm-hmm.
and, considering that all these people have an audience of at least 100,
Yeah.
doing this times 10 or 20, can you imagine? Can you imagine the new people that could be in your world? So yeah, preparation is important, and it really does look like things that can give you actual benefit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'll just say this, in conjunction, and I'm sure that you would agree, like you also still need to go at your own pace, whatever that looks. So just
True.
because you make a list of 20 don't mean you need to have to go after 20
In the
right
same day
today. Yeah.
or
Like
same
you can
month,
spread
or
it
yeah,
out
absolutely.
over, a month or more months,
Yeah.
or yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so important, that you talked about making sure that you, as the person who wants to be more visible, starts to do that prep work on yourself, so that you know what you can provide to somebody and how you can try to begin to approach them.
Yeah.
And I love that idea a lot, because I think one of the things that can get missed is that, as people, this is a people thing, in my opinion. Like we get all excited and we get all amped up, and then, but we don't really prepare. We're like all amped up, and then we're like, boom. Okay, what am I supposed to do next?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, I'm sure that we both see that sometimes in the entrepreneurial world, either with ourselves or people that we've worked with, or just people, our colleagues. So another thing, Amelia, that I think I want to talk about with you is just if you could tell us or talk to us a little bit more about why you decided that this visibility, this being a visibility coach was the exact right thing. We talked a little bit about how you believe that people have their own message, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
does, and obscurity, but let's tie that together in a
Mm-hmm.
really messy bun, and
Right.
and talk about why it is that you're like, this is for me, and this is what I need to be helping people to do.
Okay, that's a good question. So so yeah, so so I started doing social media management. It goes back to what I started doing as a side hustle. I started doing social media management. After, again, like I said, I felt under-recognized professional on the job. Felt like I was not being seen and heard, and I started. I'm a digital native, and so I stared to learn how to use social media instead of just using it to post cat videos and watch funny memes. I started to, use it for more constructive ways. And, once I started getting that, I started getting results, and people asked about that. So I said, hey, let me manage your social media. And so I started to look at some of my client results, and they look like helping them to get like 500 leads in a few weeks.
Mm.
It looked like them getting booked on as speakers at different places. And the common theme of how they got all of those leads and got speaking opportunities and collaborations that they never thought they'd have, it wasn't because of a great social media post. It wasn't. It was because of how I was using social media to be social, how I was using social media to develop relationships, to engage with influencers, to like and share influencers' content and say, hey, I really like your post. I'm, sharing this with my audience, or here's a review of your product. I'm your biggest fan. And then they put me on their platform as a testimonial.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that other people weren't necessarily using social media as a communication tool. They were,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of folks were using it as to advertise stuff versus using it to develop relationships. And so I realized that, I realized that, I looked at my client results and I said, they're getting results because they're using social media in this way. And I'm open to more people learning how to help themselves to get visible and not necessarily feel like they have to spend all day on Facebook and, do all these things and keep up with the algorithm and all of this stuff. And then I also started to look at what the Amy Porterfields and the Marie Forleos and the Jeff Walkers and Brian Tracy's were doing. They're always doing collaborations with one another. Nobody is, building their audience from scratch or getting visible from scratch. All of these 8-figure earners, they're always, partnering up with one another. John Lee Dumas, Pat Flynn, they're always doing partnerships and webinars with one another. So I just realized that it was really important for me to help other people to learn how to start to get visible in a way that's doable, that gives them results that don't take years to work. And so it was a combination, like you said, a messy bun.
Mm-hmm.
A messy bun.
Mm-hmm.
It was lots of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And then but how does your personal passion play into this? How does your personal passion play into this?
So again, I mean, not to get, this isn't this platform for it, but I feel as though humans were designed. I don't feel as though humans sprouted up from a twig of grass. I felt because we were designed by a creator, that there's a lot of amazing awesomeness and good implanted in each of us. And again, when that good is hidden from the world, that can't be good. That just is not good. So so I definitely have a personal belief in there that, if you can do something that can serve the world, other people need to know about it. Other people deserve to know about it, and you should be easy to find.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. And if I can throw this in there, I have seen in my personal life and my previous professional life how when we block that good in us or deny it or however we choose to say or see that usually nothing good comes out of that.
It can't.
No,
it's amazing.
It's impossible, because I don't know about you, but I've said for many, many years, many years, that all people are essentially born good. And, I know there's debates out there in different areas, but we're not going to go there. But all people are born good. Or, as you said, all people have good in them and are created with good in them. And so it's how we use that good.
Yeah.
For good in the world. And we don't have to be sleazy and gross and what is some of the key words I see a lot? Salesy, sleazy, pushy. We don't have to be any of those things just to share our goodness. And that's one of the things I think is really respectable and really cool about you being a visibility coach, because you don't teach people to do those things. You teach people to show up in a way that works for them. And is manageable. So I think that's really wonderful and awesome. So I see that we're getting a little late, and we've been chatting for a while. I think we've had a great conversation. I do want to do the Starlight round of questions that I do with all of my interviewers. So 3 questions, sort of surface, but sort of deep, just a little bit. I think you can handle it, Amelia. The only thing is no self-editing. Whatever pops in your head, you have to say. No self-editing. I mean, a swear word's fine, but like a string of them is probably not what I want to hear. But
okay.
But I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's go.
Okay.
What is your biggest life or business challenge right now? How would you like to see that change, and how can we help you?
Oh, goodness. Definitely automating follow-up. automating follow-up. There are lots of people that I've talked to, that I've come in contact with, that some of them I've sent proposals, some of them I haven't, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Okay. So I am hearing, I know I've got some CRM type people and some admin people who probably are watching this or who might tune in later. And it sounds like Amelia could probably have a conversation with you.
I could definitely have a conversation with you.
So that's wonderful. That's wonderful and awesome. Automating that follow-up is a big thing.
Yes.
So I haven't done it myself, but I totally know your pain.
Me either. And that's what I preach to other people. I preach it to other people.
Yeah. I totally know your pain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question. Tell me your biggest personal change as you developed your business in the process of developing your business. What was your biggest personal Amelia change?
My biggest personal Amelia change, that's a hard one. I think setting boundaries is a change I'm currently in the middle of. Yeah, I'm currently in the middle of it. I don't know what else to say, but I'm currently in the middle of it. You say not to edit yourself. So I'm having one day that I want to have like blocked off that I'm not doing any work at all. And hopefully in October I'll have that day, but it's been but no, I owe it to myself, right? Self-care. So it's just something I'm really starting to see. It's like at first, with the laptop lifestyle, the fact that you could work at any time, anywhere, that's definitely old now. So I'm definitely enjoying the idea of boundaries, and also like not replying to emails that I get after hours. I'm striving on those things. But
boundaries is definitely, it's a hard thing. I think it's a hard thing in life in general, but definitely if we're business owners, entrepreneurs, anything like that, because there aren't predefined boundaries. Like if you work somewhere, you need to be there for your shift or whatever. You need to show up for your client meetings or however it is it works. But that's interesting, because we have to create those, and they can change, which is the good thing about being an entrepreneur. But also, and like we can change them, but also, I don't know about you, but myself and other people I know, I think our biggest struggle is sticking to them as our personal, I have personal boundaries that I'm totally cool with like other people sticking with, but me sticking with it is
I know.
Oh, I said I wasn't going to do this, and here I am doing it.
The whole matter of keeping promises to yourself is just, I'm continuing to work on keeping promises to myself.
It is. That's a good one. Okay. All right. Last question. And you can actually answer this because we're so close to the end of 2019. You're perfectly capable you're perfectly allowed if you've already created this. What is your biggest dream goal for this year or next?
Goodness gracious.
No self-editing.
This is hard. I see what you're saying. You kept saying it. I was like, why did you keep? Yes, of course I won't, but it's hard. My biggest goal for, let's say 2020. Okay. The biggest goal for 2020 is to have like defined times that I'm working on my business.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see a theme here. Automation, boundaries, and defined time is one of your biggest goals for 2020. Totally see a theme here. Really great, though. Really great, Amelia. Thank you so much for playing the Starlight Round of questions. I really appreciated that. And I always find that these questions help people to just kind of dial in, and also to sometimes not feel so alone as fellow business owners, entrepreneurs. So there's that. But thank you again. Thank you so much for being on the show. I want to just one more time, I want you to tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you, all of your channels and all of that stuff, your website, whatever all that is. I want you to do all those things, and we will wrap it up and say toodaloo.
Okay, sure. So again, my name is Amelia. People hire me to help them to build their professional networks, to get visible, and really simply put, get more first dates in business. Everything starts with a first date, a conversation, and I help facilitate those conversations for people. So you can find me on LinkedIn, Amelia. I think I'm there as Amelia J. Roberts on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram as @RN_solutions. And I'm also on, Facebook. Solutions by Amelia is my Facebook page. But I spend a lot of time over on LinkedIn. So I'd love to connect with listeners over on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah. So everybody caught those links. Of course, we'll drop them below. I am really excited that you're here today, Amelia. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I've got a toddler who wants to join us all of a sudden.
Well, that's beautiful
Anyway.
sounds. Yes, I had a cell phone that rang. So, it's life. It's
It's
life.
all good.
It's all life. Yeah.
But everybody, thank you again. And in case you forgot where you were, again, I am Kendall of New Oregon Content Creation Services, where I help business owners to repurpose their existing original content into multiple different types of content to increase their visibility, reach, and maximize that information. So thank you again, Amelia. It was a wonderful time having you. Thank you for this conversation. Bye, everybody.
Bye.